Okay, so firstly, thanks for everyone for coming to this channel here, and I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that. Give me a second here. There we go. All right, sorry about that. So going back to the intro, a good friend of mine. Basically, yeah, he was a professional soccer player back in England. Played for about 17 years. Has coached many teams. Ladies that just joined in, if you could just put your mics on mute, that'd be great. He's played for top teams. He's played for Sunderland, Darlington, Wrexham, if I say it correctly. Yeah, and he's a UFA coach. He also has his Youth FA award as well. And yeah, you know what? Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Neil Wainwright, and we'll go from there. So don't be shy, ladies. Again, the process is, you know, if you just want to raise your hand, and we'll go through some questions, and it's discussion. So whatever pops up from there. So Neil, it's all yours. Go right ahead.
Good to see you, ladies. You okay? Just put your hands up to say you're okay. Have you heard me? Perfect. Obviously, a few of you know me from the camp a couple of years ago. And again, as Christos has quite rightly said, it's for you girls, this Zoom meeting. So anything you want to sort of talk about, bring up, how you found lockdown, how you found maybe difficulties trying to practice your soccer whilst we're in lockdown. If you need any ideas or what maybe to practice, it's up to you. So anyone who wants to ask the first question, it can be about anything, football, anything, whatever you want to talk about. It's fine.
Whatever you like, you know what I mean? It's an open discussion. So I'll start off for myself. This lockdown's been has been driving me bananas. I have, as you can see in my video here, I got the background of I'm inside the truck in my van, so I'm considered part of an essential service. But the good thing is I have the flexibility of time and hours, so I can set aside certain time during the day. But yeah, I miss coaching. I miss you ladies. You know what I mean? It's one thing to do these sessions, and it's good that you ladies are doing the strength and conditioning every day, and you're really working hard. The ball mastery that we just started doing, but I just can't wait to get back on there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel it. I feel it big time. I think we're going into week number 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the 4th week, and the 4th week going into the 5th week, and man, it's just driving me nuts. So I don't know. What do you guys? Who else feels the same? Anyone? Just take the floor. You know what I mean? If you want, just put up your hand, and I'll unmute your mic, and away you go. So we'll have one speaker at a time, so we don't keep getting cut off. Go ahead. What's going on, Jenna? How are you?
I am kind of good. Not really, though. Bit of a hectic morning. I do not like math, but yeah, I'm kind of bored. So
yeah,
and there's something in my eye. So that's good.
How do you like? Well, so far the strength and conditioning has been going great. How do you like it? How do you like the best we can do to get through this hard time? Right?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's better than obviously doing nothing. Like, I think it's good because we kind of get not really to be together, but kind of work at a common goal again. Like, have that teamwork, I guess, and it's good to keep everyone in shape, obviously, because we don't want to come back and be like, bleh. So.
Oh, exactly. So, do you have a question for Neil, or just fire anything away?
Okay, so because you played on a team and you coach, so what would you say is more fulfilling, like playing on the team or coaching other people?
Definitely playing. definitely playing. I miss playing a lot, but coaching is the next best thing, because my experience of, certainly when I was sort of an apprentice over here, which is sort of 16 to 18-year-old, it's difficult times, and it's times for you girls as the same. You're a little bit unsure of yourself. You're not lacking in confidence. You're growing up at the same time, got loads of things going on, as well as playing soccer as well. So it can be difficult to focus all on one thing, really. So that's why I try and take into my players and my same experiences for them, and that's why I do the job. But nothing beats playing. Nothing beats scoring a goal in front of thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything will beat that. So.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Feel free to just unmute your mic, because I know that hand feature that you put up your hand and I have to look and find, and it may take some time. So just feel free, just unmute and tell your experience. Ask away. You know what I mean? This is an opportunity, ladies, where what we're trying to do is get, you know what I mean, have that experience with not just hearing myself or Coach Manny and stuff like that, but players that have been they've been professional. They're in the environment right now. They're coaching professional teams. So I know all you ladies are in it and are driven to get to the next level. So start asking away. It's your opportunity. And if you don't, go ahead.
What would you say the difference between like soccer in Europe and Canada and like the North America is?
In sort of youth soccer, certainly dedication-wise, I found when I did the camp over there a few years ago with some of the girls here, was you seem a lot more driven than sort of a lot of the younger players that I deal with on a regular basis. It's really difficult sometimes to get the most out of some players who aren't really putting everything in, and that's the biggest frustration as a coach. Certainly one like myself who's played, is that I give everything I had when I played, but sometimes I get the impression that some of them don't really understand what it takes to be successful. And I find that certainly, again, the girls who know me here, who I coached over there a couple of years ago, they couldn't do enough, and always looking to do extra work, and that's the only way you can be successful, really. And at the end of it, if you don't become successful in whatever you're doing, at least you've given everything you've got, and that's all you can ask of a player. And that's what I found, certainly my differences between sort of Europe and North America.
Awesome. Great question, Chandra. Larissa, you have a question there?
Sure. So as you're a coach, what's the most important like quality you look for in a player when you're coaching?
Right. When I'm coaching, it can be different to when I'm trying to find a player. So when I'm trying to find a player, I'm looking at possibly physicality, possibly technical abilities. But when I've got that player, I'm looking for 100%. I'm just looking at his attitude and his willingness to learn. If he hasn't got a willingness to learn, he's not going to take any information on board, whether that be tactically or what his weaknesses and strengths and areas to improve are. So certainly when we look at all players when we're trying to scout them and bring them in. We get that specific areas, such as centre halves. We like them to be tall and strong and aggressive. And the same goes for all different positions, whatever little niches they have in that area. So wingers need to be fast and agile and really, really good at taking people on and ability to finish and stuff like that. But when I've got hold of those players, they have to have that attitude. And more often than not, the ones that do and the ones that work hard are the ones that succeed, because they've got that technical ability when they come into us, and they work hard every single day to try and get that end goal of becoming a professional footballer.
Awesome. Good question, Larissa. Anyone else?
Yeah, speaking like about scouting and opportunities like that, I was just wondering what type of opportunities there are for like girls around our age or a little bit older to England or Europe.
It's a strange one at the moment in England, because it's almost a transition period for women's soccer. Really successful the last World Cup. There's a massive influx in interest in women's soccer, whereas in England it's all about the men's soccer. But it's starting to change quite a bit now, and I think there's something like 600 more teams registered to play in girls' soccer this season alone, which is remarkable in the size of the country we have. What we have in England, so the men's soccer, we have 92 football league clubs. Every single one of those has a youth system, so they'll have players from under 9s all the way up to under 16s, and then they'll have a scholarship program, 16s to 18s, to then become professional. The women's, they're behind because there's not as many professional clubs. There's only the Women's Premier League that they're all professional. So what the FA have now done in terms of the girls' pathway is it's a lot different to the men's, but it's trying to get like the men's, if that makes sense. So there's I think there's 34 regional talent centres or regional talent clubs where girls go and play or get scouted to go and play for these clubs. And they're set into tiers. So tier 1 will be your better clubs, your Manchester City ladies, Liverpool ladies, and tier 2 and tier 3, for example. So there's 3 tiers. Again, similar to the men's. So we've got 3 categories. The better clubs are the Cat 1s, Cat 2s, and the Cat 3s, for example. But again, it's a building process. So the opportunities, I would say, are nowhere near the opportunities that the boys and the men have. But I would anticipate certainly next 2, 3, 4, 5 years that will change quite a bit. And certainly going on interest, there's a lot more. The attendance record, for example, for a women's soccer game was broke this year. Loads more interest, loads more girls playing, which is fantastic.
The girls that we have here, you know what I mean, they're all very dedicated, and they're fantastic. You know what I mean? So it's great questions. I love it, and this is exactly going back to saying this is your time now, right? So any questions you guys have, just don't be shy. You know what I mean? I have a question for you, Neil. Is basically what process do women, if they were looking for any possible advancement in Europe, if there is any, what should they do? Because right here in Canada, the biggest thing here, the biggest talk is universities, of course, and then Division 1, basically schooling in the States, so college universities in the States. So this is what we're driven over here in North America. Should they be looking at possible any kind of opportunities in Europe? What's your take on that? What do you think?
I would look at more of the US Canada scholarship for the girls over there, mainly because there's nothing like that over here, and as I say, we're almost still building in terms of ladies soccer. So the scholarship programs aren't there now. Universities, there's potential, I would say, to get into sort of the tier 1 clubs, but in terms of scholarship, I don't think they offer that. You're either good enough in terms of your regional development centre, work through that, and then you're either a pro or you're not. Whereas the men's soccer is different. You work through your scholarship program for 2 years, and you're getting paid while you're playing and training every day. But no, I would, as I say, I'd anticipate it to be better in the coming years. But certainly for girls at this age now, I would say it's more beneficial to go sort of down the US sort of Canada scholarship route.
Yeah, see, the thing is for us over here as well, through the so for you ladies as well, Carmelina Scotto, that basically played for Team Canada. She's she's the League One commissioner now for female soccer. And what's coming down the pipeline, apparently, because we have now we have MLS, so Major League Soccer, and then we have Canadian Premier League, which they just had. They opened it up last year, and as it's going on, what their focus is basically to build a CWPL, so a Canadian Women's Premier League. So you know, I mean, there's some things definitely that need to grow, and I think you ladies are at an opportune time to be involved in this. So
yeah, it is a great time, but I think it's important to understand that the men's game is so established, certainly in England. It's been established for over 100 years. The youth system's been established for 20, 30 years. So it is a case of catch up. But the signs of catch up within the last 12 months have been astronomical, really. Again, as I say, since the Women's World Cup, there was massive interest over here. And I think they'll see the benefits of that over the next few years if it can be pushed in the right way, which I think it will be.
Awesome. Ladies, anyone else? Otherwise, I'm just going to randomly picking you out. I'll just be going, all right, I'm just going to be firing away. All right, here we go. Ready? So, lucky person that's going to have a question is going to be Rebecca. How's it going? Go ahead.
It's good. So if I had multiple coaches looking at me for scholarships and stuff like that, how do I know which one's the best to sign with?
Right, that's a good question. Again, I would look at what's important to you. So in terms of type of school, where it is, I'm really a big believer in what feels right for you as well. So if you get a good vibe from the coach, if you get a bad vibe from the coach, it'd be a no straight away from me. But again, it's a multitude of things, really. It's getting those bits that are right for you. So again, if proximity or where the school is doesn't really bother you, then you're looking into the other factors: how successful they are, how much of a chance you're going to get, what's the success rate of the school, all those things that are probably more important to you. But again, it's all down to you, really. It's not sort of for me to say, oh, go down this route or go down that route. It's different things for you to have a little look at.
Great question, Rebecca. It's all right. We can stay here quiet for the next 20 minutes. No, someone just jump in. Feel free. Just jump right in. Unmute your mic. Off you go. Ask a question. All right, I'll ask a question then. No worries. Here's another question for you. Depending on age group, of course, your training regime. You know what I mean? So how many times during the week? What's your recovery look like? Stuff like that.
So I'm primarily with the under-18s group. So they're our youth team. So they work 5 days a week and then play on the Saturday. So they train Monday to Friday. They have historically done Monday morning with me, Monday afternoon their college work, Tuesday all day, Wednesday morning with me and college in the afternoon, Thursday all day with me, and Friday training with me, then college in the afternoon. So it's a good mix of sort of the school work and the work with me, but generally it'll look like sort of Monday, 2 days post game. So the Monday will be a more relaxed session. I'm not a massive believer in 2 day recovery, so it'll still be regular football session, just possibly a little bit lighter than later on in the week. Tuesday morning will be a heavy session physically, more about the sort of physical side, but all football related, but it's more about getting those minutes into their legs. Afternoon they'll do sort of strength based work, so that'll be whether it be power or it be legs on a Tuesday. Wednesday will be more possession based stuff in the morning, followed by Thursday you're more looking at sort of tactical work, the bigger spaces, so you're looking at more sort of, if you've got the numbers, 11v11 type work, and again another weight session in the afternoon. So again, if you've done power on the Tuesday, it'll be legs on the Thursday, and then Friday is your game prep. So I normally do some small sided games, little bits of fun, and then some set pieces, getting prepared for the Saturday game, which is on the morning. And then the 15s, who I also take, they train of an evening because at school, so they train Tuesday and Thursdays and Saturday mornings, and then they play on a Sunday. So again, we've got curriculum to work off. Generally, it's attacking based for 2 weeks, then defending based for 2 weeks, then sort of amalgamation of the two in the next 2 weeks, and then the 7th week is a review week. And then it recycles again, right? It basically, Yeah, so it's kind of like it'll have the same principles. So it'll be attack then defense, but it'll generally be slightly different. So it might focus on pressing for one phase, for example, and the next might be based on sort of more possession type work. But yeah, it's all geared to their Sunday stuff. So whatever they're doing in that game on the Sunday, it'll then relate to what they do on the Tuesday.
Of course, yeah.
Loosely based within the topic, but again, if the team needs work in a certain area, no matter what the topic is, that's where they'll work. And try and gear it towards sort of the players that position specific stuff as well within mixed in there. But that's generally on a Saturday morning.
And how long are usually the sessions? Like how long are is it like an hour and a half, 2 hour session?
Yeah, hour and a half for the Tuesday and Thursday ones, and there's 2 hours on the Saturday. So that's how we manage to get as much as we'd like to have them a little bit more, obviously, but sort of the 5 hours a week is what we're getting at the moment, which it's not too bad. And then the game on the Sunday.
Awesome. So our next person that's going to ask a question, since we're not volunteering here, is going to be, hold on one sec here. Everyone's just staring. Okay, hold on one sec. Is going to be Marissa. You're our next contestant, Marissa. Come on down. Let's go.
Okay. I want to know, like, what age should we start looking for like bigger opportunities for like maybe like university and stuff? Like, is it ever too early, or should we be like reaching out to like colleges and university now?
I would say with it, sort of probably looking within the next sort of 12 months, I would say. But again, it's one of those where you've got to kind of enjoy your soccer first, learn your trade first, and if you succeeding and doing really, really well, then you look at those opportunities as well. But yeah, I wouldn't say there was any time that you'd have an eye on it too early, but I wouldn't get obsessed by it and over tunnel visioned about it and think this is the be all and end all of what I'm looking at doing. But have that in mind, and it's never a bad thing to have a plan in place. That plan might change along the way if it is an early plan. That's all it is, really.
I have a question. Based on like the current situation right now, what would you say like the best thing for like reaching out to coaches or whatever would be to do now? Because it's kind of hard with what's happening.
That's a very difficult question. It is. We're in times that are unprecedented, so no one has experienced what we're experiencing right now. So it is extremely difficult, and in ways of reaching out, there's not many ways in which you can reach out in this stage, really. I would say if you are having a positive social media presence out there, I think that might help you. For example, I've seen bits and bobs of videos of what people are doing within lockdown. It's a case of just getting yourself out there just by whatever means possible. And the only means you can really do at the moment is social media, I would say. But it has to be a positive aspect of you and of you as a player. And I'm sure that, again, no one knows because we don't know what's going on at this moment in time. But if there are people out there looking for girls to join their scholarships, I'm sure that's the first place they'll look at the moment. Good question.
Great job. Asta, you are up, Asta. What's going on?
Nothing. So considering being playing in the UK and stuff like that, how do you think the women's game would be like if that makes sense?
Just cut out very slightly. Say again.
Considering you played in the UK, how do you think the women's game will be will get bigger, more popular?
As I say, I think it has already. I think it's a mindset more than anything with the women's game, because in England the men's game is very much based on sort of society and class, and it's very much ingrained into people, which the women's game isn't. So men's game is traditionally the be all and end all of what we have in our country. It's everyone talks about. They talk about in the pubs. They talk about when they get home, and it's almost part of the lifestyle in England. So in terms of the women's game, we had a little snapshot of that with the Women's World Cup, and all of a sudden people are talking about the women's game. But as I say, it's because it's so ingrained in sort of men and culture and society over here, it'll take a lot of catching up, and it's almost as if literally men will go to work, and that's what they'll do it for, so they can buy their ticket to go and play to go and watch the team on the Saturday, and that's what they gear their week towards. Whereas it's not quite the same with the women's game. But as I say, I think it'll get there. It's certainly well on its way. It's that acceptance of women can actually be good at soccer, believe it or not. And again, the World Cup showed that the women are technically gifted enough to make it certainly a watchable sport and an enjoyable sport. And I think that was I think it had sort of a bad reputation before the Women's World Cup, as to a lot of men sort of thought, well, they're not going to be very good at football, women, almost a sexist view of it. Whereas when they actually sat down and watched it, because they're on the main channels over here, they thought, oh, actually, they're pretty good, these girls, aren't they? So that's a way it will change. Again, how quickly that will change, I don't know. I think it just needs to be pushed by the authorities, by the FA, and they're certainly doing that with a new women's pathway that they've got that I mentioned earlier.
Well done, Asta. That was a great question. Yeah, just over here. See, the thing is, in Europe, my background being Greek, the Europeans basically love soccer. They breathe soccer. The passion is massive. You know what I mean? Here, it's a multicultural country over here, and we have a lot of people that love the sport. Some are passionate, and some just do it just to get by, right? So I think we're looking at the trend now in terms of people being passionate, and they're opening up and making these new programs and professional pathways for players. Because when I was growing up, the biggest thing over here was Toronto Lynx, and there was no TFC. There was no Toronto TFC. There was Toronto Lynx and your national program, and that's it. And there was no big hype about it. Now that current team, Toronto Lynx, is completely diminished. You know what I mean? It's not even around anymore. So they're finally doing it. It's good to see. Ladies, the opportunities you guys have right now in front of you, it was, believe it or not, is a lot better than when I was playing soccer over here in Canada. So again, going back to what I said before in terms of being an opportune time, I think it's ideal, right? So there's a lot of places out there that if you're good, you're dedicated, you're focused, and you're driven, you're going to get there. You know what I mean? In one shape or form, right? You can be a professional soccer player, or you can actually branch off and do many other things. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so that's what I have to say on that. Next lady that's going to have the question ready is going to be, let's go, Megan. You're up. Megan's up.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. My mic hasn't been working. Okay.
I can hear you clear.
This is more about the game. So what mental tools do you use when you're under pressure in like a game situation, whether it be coach or player?
Oh, very good question. I think the key is to, I've experienced a lot with my players in terms of how they experience the game themselves. And I think society has changed from when I was playing to now. And it's almost as I find with my players, if something bad happens, all of a sudden in their head, the world's ending. They've made a mistake. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their entire life. If they score a goal, all of a sudden they think they've cracked it. They think they're the best thing in the world. And they're almost massive levels apart. So the biggest tool for me was always sort of keep composed, keep determined. If I ever faced adversity as a player, it just made me more determined to improve myself as it went along. Now, there'd be games where I'd start poorly, just some games where my touch was not right and it just wasn't working out. Every pass was going astray. I'd just up my work rate. So my work rate would get even more. So I'd be putting in more tackles. I'd be tracking back more because I was a wide player. See, I was a winger. So you haven't paid to do all that stuff, setting up goals, assists and all that stuff in the attacking third. But I'd just work harder at the other stuff if it wasn't going really well for me. But the biggest advice really is keep a level head about it all and try and have, going into a game, try and have a goal. Even in training sessions, try and have a goal, have a target of what you want to achieve in that game. So for a midfield player, it might be, I want to regain 75% of the tackles I go in for. It might be every time I regain the ball, I'm going to give it to one of our players nice and simply. Yeah, for an attacker, it might be, if I get in on goal, can I get my shot on target? Yeah, if I'm a wide player, can I get as many crosses as I can? I might give myself a target of 3 crosses in the first half, 3 crosses in the second half. Have I reached my goal at the end of it? But the important thing is here, have attainable targets, smart targets as they were. So they've got to be attainable. So pointless me saying I'm going into a game of soccer and I'm going to score 5 goals. It's a tough target, isn't it? No matter who you are. So it's a case of making sure that your targets are attainable, keep level-headed about them, and more importantly, keep level-headed when things aren't going so well, because it doesn't all go smoothly, does it, within games? You might have tough times in your position as a team. Within a run of games, you might have a run of games where you're taking a few losses. So it's about keeping level-headed and believing in what you're doing. And certainly looking at what Christos does with you, it's a case of buying into what your coach is trying to do with you, and how he's trying to support you, and how he's trying to help you within your soccer. And again, that will keep you level-headed and will help you with your mental development, I think.
Fantastic. I have a question for you. Sorry, give me a second here. Who or what was or is your lucky charm who supported you throughout life the most?
Ooh, throughout life, definitely my parents. From the age of, I think I started playing soccer properly when I was around about 10 or 11, and they never missed a game. So they went to every single game that I was in, 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s. When I was a 12, 13-year-old, I was a schoolboy footballer at Crewe Alexandra, and that was an hour and a half away every night, every sort of 2 nights a week after school. So my mum used to drive me there. She'd only just passed her driving test, so it was always a little bit nervy driving me, but it was always appreciated by me. And that's the key. If you are being supported by people, no matter what form it comes in, whether it comes in the form of a coach, a parent, a friend, appreciate that and try and pay it back in some way. Now, as it happens, my league debut, my professional league debut, I told my mum and dad to stay at home because I didn't think I'd be involved. So they stayed at home. It was 3 days after Christmas. And back in those times, there was not much internet knocking about. So we had a thing over here on the television called teletext. So you could see when the goals were going in on the television in text format. And I came up with a winning goal on my debut, and that's how my mum and dad found out. So it's they weren't happy with me, let me tell you. But no, they've been fantastic all the way through. And my dad always knew that I was my biggest critic as well. So if I had a bad game, I'd be down. So he wouldn't say anything. He'd just a couple of days later, then we'd chat about the game and pick it up later on. He knew really well when to leave me alone and when to talk and when to say, you could have done this and you could have done that, which was really, really good. But most of the time, they just let me get on with it and supported me in sort of lifts and travel and just being there for me, which was really good. But again, there's many, many people down the years that have helped me, coaches and friends and fans have been brilliant with me as well down the years as well, which has been good. Supporters are great over here with players who work hard, and I used to work really hard as a player. And that was always appreciated by the supporters. And the lift you get from the supporters cheering you, unbelievable. Again, something that you'll never replicate in anything else, I don't think.
Awesome.
I have another question.
Go on, Larissa.
Yeah. Like, what was your most difficult challenge throughout your journey becoming a pro soccer player?
To become a pro soccer player, well, I had many challenges. I went for a sort of open trial to start with. So this was when I was around about 11. I went for an open trial at Crewe Alexandra. I went to this trial and there was 3-4 pitches. There was about 60, 70, 80 other players just like me. And I had to try and stand out within this unbelievable group of players. Some who were not as good as me, some who were really, really good, but you've got maybe 2-3 scouts watching this and you've got to stand out. And it's really, really difficult. So I had an afternoon to try and impress on those people at the age of sort of 11, 12 and what I could do. And at the end of the day, they separated us into rooms and said, look, right, we'd like you to come to the next trial. We'd like you to come to the next trial. And I got rejected from that. Fast forward 6 months and I'm scouted by the same team playing for my local club and they offer me to sign. So out of adversity at one stage, I've ended up signing for the same team. Now, the same thing happened with the club I ended up playing for professionally, Wrexham. So I went for a trial with those before I signed for Crewe. Ended up being on a car park in the dark with one light in the session with 10 other players, and then I was deemed not good enough at the end of it. So fast forward, and again 4 or 5 years later, they're clamouring to sign me as a 16-year-old. Couldn't do enough for me, and I ended up making them a sizable amount of money from a transfer fee. So it's all about belief. So yes, someone can say you're not good enough. Many people can say you're not good enough, but it's the belief you have in yourself and that support network you have around you. If you believe, then you've always got a chance of pushing yourself. If you're determined enough, you'd have got a chance to push yourself to succeed. And I never gave up because I always believed in myself. Yes, I doubted myself many, many times after the rejections, go home crying in the car. Always those times when you think, am I good enough? But then you dust yourself down and you go again and you work as hard as you can. And if you work as hard as you can in anything in life, you've got a chance to succeed. And luckily for me, I worked as hard as I could and reached most of my goals. But another good question.
Great job, Larissa.
What would you say is like some of the main differences in terms of like soccer tactics or strategies that you see in like soccer in England or just soccer in Europe in general that you don't see often in like Canada?
I'm not sure really. I think tactics generally come in cycles throughout the world. I mean, we had, so you go back to when I was playing, it was always standard 4-4-2 formations. 2 players up front, one big one, one little one. The little one was always a sharp one. The big one was always the one that got hold of it and flick balls on. And it was always fairly direct, so, longer balls. Then it got rotated round, so all of a sudden everyone wanted to play passing football, tiki-taka like Barcelona. And I think we've come full circle again, where now we're having a little bit of mix of both. So players are passing short when it's on to play short, long when it's on to go long, and then you've got your press and your counter press now. And I think generally it's fairly similar throughout the world. All I would say about sort of North America and Canada, it's slower. What I find, we have sort of international students come in with us now and again, anywhere from North America, Australia, New Zealand, countries like that. And whenever they come in, they're always amazed by the speed, the intensity and the pace at which the game's played. So I would say that's the main difference sort of between European football, certainly currently, and North American and possibly other places around the world, is the speed and intensity, certainly of the press. You don't get much time on the ball to do what you'd like with it. You've got to be really quick in the brain and quick with your feet in order to move the ball nice and fast. Otherwise you get caught on it quite quickly. Now, in the women's game, it's slightly different. There is an emphasis on press, certainly over in England. Emphasis on playing out from the back and making the pitch really, really big in possession. But I would say in terms of the speed of the game in England for the women's, as it is in North America, I wouldn't say it was a great deal of difference in terms of the speed. You look at the American women's team, they're really fast in terms of and intense in terms of their press. So it's slightly different, the women's game to the men's game. But I think certainly in Europe, it's the intensity of the way the game's played, I would say.
Great job, Emily. Really good question there. Madison.
What are some tips to keep advancing our soccer under these times?
Very good question. Now, I was kind of going to try and open them up to you a little bit in terms of what you're doing. So what I've seen over social media with various players throughout the world is a lot of ball juggling. So hands up who does sort of ball juggling type work within their home and outside and stuff. So that's really good. It's really good for your motor skills and your repetition of work, and in terms of your touch. So it's fantastic. You never do enough of that. That's really, really good. How about drills where you're shifting the ball between your feet? Yeah. Anyone do that? Show of hands. Yeah, shifting the ball between your feet. Yeah, really, really good. Now, what I've not seen, which I think, again, a few of the girls have possibly seen me on Instagram. If you want to tag me anything on Instagram and what you're doing, I'd like to see if anyone could produce something a little bit more game related. So if you've got a wall and you're playing a ball against the wall quite a bit, can we see a turn into space to take you away from something, or an object you can take yourself away from, or get someone to throw you a ball so you receive it here and take it into space? Okay, so something a little bit different. So it's great to have all the skills and the drills and keeping the feet working and your agility levels. But the important thing for me is to try and, if you can, it's really, really difficult, and I'd like to see what you come up with, but it's really, really difficult to try and replicate little instances in games. Obviously, you can't replicate an 11-11 football match where people are going to tackle you. But can you replicate little instances you might find within that game, whether it's turning to get away from someone, playing a ball into a space where you think, can I get there as quick as I can and put the brakes on if you're going to do a little bit of defending? Doesn't need someone to come and tackle you. It doesn't need someone to pass with you. It doesn't need someone in goal with you. It just needs to try and recreate a moment within a game you might find yourself in. And if you can recreate that, keep practicing that, try and make it a little bit different every time you do it, then I think you're just altering your little experience all the time. And alongside that, you're doing your drills, you're doing your ball juggling, and you're doing all the things that you're doing already. I think, yeah, it's a really good question, that, because it is all about ingenuity. It's about being clever with what you've got. Everyone in here, in this Zoom call, has got different circumstances. So different size houses, different size backyards, different size areas to work in, different size footballs. It might be different people that might help them. They might not have anyone to help them out with their skills when they're doing them. Or some person might have a sibling that might help, or a parent. All different little experiences. So again, I'm really interested to see how you all have a little go at something that might be a little bit more game related, and see if it works for you, and see if it might spark a little bit more engagement for you as well to do something a little bit different. So it'll be very interesting. Very good question, that, because it's difficult. It's really difficult, I think, to try and do things differently. But imagination's massive in making up little drills and whatever you do.
Wow, that was amazing. That's actually, you know what, even for me as a coach and just listening in on this, and for our ball mastery, so far the ball mastery has been individual, it's been repetitive, but that's actually a great point, you know what I mean? Going forward for me as a coach, to deliver to the team here is basically have something that to involve, say if you're working off a wall or something like that, I'll send you ladies a description on that. But to work off the ball, and in terms of making a game realistic in areas of where you can, you know what I mean? So snippets of areas, exactly, because we can't replicate an 11v11 game, but how can we bring the the game decisions and game realistic into our training. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, and I'd love to see it as well, because as I say, I've not seen anything like it. I've not seen anyone do it yet. I've not seen anyone come up with a different idea of how they work or where they work, or how can I produce that little instance in a game that might happen. Or yeah, as I say, ball mastery is fantastic, and it's to be done all the time, constantly. But to get that slight little extra edge as a soccer player, can you do it in a different way? Can you try and produce a moment in a game that you might come up with? Yeah,
that's amazing. Ladies, the Instagram page is Wainy11, and it's WAINY11. Okay, so if you want to follow Neil on that, and then tag him in with some videos on that, that'd be great. So we have about 2 more people left with questions here, so we're going to go with Kira. You're up, Kira.
So do you think that there's more options to go professionally, like to become professional in the UK or Europe or in North America? Like, what has more options for it?
I'd say the options are probably equal, but the pathway is more difficult here, I would say. Certainly with the upcoming sort of Canadian Women's Premier League and things like that over there, and the scholarships you can have over there. As I say, it's more cut and dry in England, because you get to a point where you coach, and you're either good enough or you're not. Whereas in America and Canada, you're then given a scholarship, and that's your time to grow. That's your time to sort of improve and get to that point where it's a gradual process rather than you're there or you're not. Whereas, as I say, it's a little bit more ruthless and cut and dry over in England, which is similar to the men's game as well. But the men's game, as I say, at least you get, as I say, those 2 years again, where you can work through your we call it 4 corners over here: your technical, your tactical, social strokes, psychological work, and your physical work. And it's all about improving. Now, if you improve all that stuff all the way along those 2 years, then you've got a really good chance of becoming a professional footballer. But again, different within the women's game over here. So if I was to pick an opportunity for you girls, I would pick the Canadian / American one currently in terms of chance of opportunity.
Fantastic. Great question. Taylor, you're up, Taylor.
Okay, so how would you best describe your coaching style?
I have many coaching styles, I would say. It depends what session I'm taking. So if it's more of a tactical session, I'm very much command and telling people what I want from them, where I want them within the team, within each sort of scenario within the game. Whereas if I'm doing more sort of attacking work or more possession type work, I'm more sort of guided discovery. Let the players work things out for themselves. I try and put sessions on that are difficult to work out, but when you master them, you've mastered them yourself as a player, and you've worked it out yourself. Because if you're playing in a game and I'm coaching you and I'm on the side, I can only give you so much information. But the things within the game yourself, you've got to work out for yourself. So as a player, it's trying to replicate that within a training session. You can guide on some things, you can direct on others. So I would say mostly command and direct, certainly with sort of tactical work, but more of the technical work where you're asking players to go and attack and just enjoy themselves and be skillful and express themselves. It is just that, letting them express themselves and letting them enjoy themselves. As long as everyone's working hard in my sessions, I'm happy, generally. So, yeah. And then on game day, I'm a lot more command as well. So if people aren't doing what I want them to do, I'm telling them.
And I think we're down to a last question there. Adriana?
Do you find that your diet plays an important role in staying fit as an athlete?
Yes. Now, again, talking from my point of view, I'm 42 now, so going back sort of how long it is now, 10, 11 years since I finished my career, there was not a massive emphasis on sort of nutrition, diet, even in strength and conditioning programs when I was playing. So my diet was really, really bad. But looking back, I did have a lot of injuries as well, a lot of muscle injuries. So if my diet was a lot better and a lot more prepared in sort of certainly pre-game and post-game, I'd like to think I'd have a lot less injuries than I experienced when I was playing. So it is really big. Mostly sort of taking on protein after sort of more your strength-based work is really important. So it rebuilds the muscles. So if our players have had a heavy gym session, then they have protein shakes, or they've got a good decent bit of protein, chicken or whatever it is that they can put into themselves straight after. So within the next half an hour, which is really, really important. But keep hydrated all times. After game, get your carbs on board. I'm not a big believer in saying sort of, oh, you have to eat this, and this after a game. As long as you're getting your carb loading on board, it doesn't matter a great deal what types of stuff you're eating after a game. It's just what you're preparing for before. So if you've got a game on a Saturday, for example, your most important meal's your Friday night. Your next most important meal's your Saturday before you play. So it's having enough time to digest what you're going to eat before the games, enough carbs, enough protein to get you through the game. But certainly the night before is really important as well. Get the carbs on board. But yeah, it is massively important now. Certainly nowadays, now there's a lot more evidence and a lot more experience with sort of the nutrition side of it. So yeah, eat properly and you'll succeed. I think you'll certainly feel a lot better physically. Sleep's massive as well. Again, I was never a big one for sleep after games or before games. Well, that's when your body's recovering. So if you've got poor sleep patterns, it's not going to help you. You're going to feel lethargic. You're going to feel lacking in energy. So it's really important that you're getting enough sleep as well. So that's alongside your nutrition.
Any other questions, ladies? Well, on that note, I just wanted to take a moment to say how blessed I am to have a talented group of female athletes that I'm coaching right now. They motivate me. You guys motivate me a lot. I'd like to motivate you ladies as well. You guys are a fantastic group. I've coached many teams. The way you guys are focused and determined, it's awesome. So for me, it's a pleasure to coach you ladies. It's fantastic. Also, Neil, I'd like to thank Neil. Thank you very much for coming out and being on this Zoom meeting with your time, your expertise. I think it's a fantastic way to tap into youth football for players that want to take it to the next level. You know what? When we were communicating, we were talking back and forth, and we made this happen. This is fantastic. So I really, really can't express how much. Thank you very much for doing that. It really means a lot to myself and to the team.
One of the reasons I sort of reached out to you is obviously being in Canada a few years ago. I worked with a few of the girls here: Kira, Natalie, Larissa, Becca, and again, that is what I took away from that. And I've had a lot of experience in football, but the work rate and the dedication from the girls I took away. So I kept an eye on sort of the football club and kept an eye on what you were all doing. And I know how passionate you are, Christos, about the girls and about working with them. So that's why I've kept in touch and kept an eye on things. And again, if ever you want me on for another Zoom meeting, it'd be my pleasure. It's never a bad thing to talk about soccer, because again, girls might go away from here and all of a sudden think, oh, maybe I should have asked that question. But again, anytime, certainly, as I said before, we're in for another at least 3 weeks of lockdown in the UK. So anytime you wanted to touch base and get me involved again, and no problem whatsoever. And I'm looking forward to seeing what people have got in store with potential drills and things in the back garden or in the bedrooms or whatever they got planned.
That's awesome. You know, thank you very much. And yeah, for sure, ladies, again, the Instagram page is Wayny11, WAINY 11. So just add them onto your Instagram there and go out there and do those tricks. Just to keep, for you ladies to know that, yes, you do have your strength and conditioning coming up at 5:30 and then ball mastery right after at 6:15. All right. So ladies, thank you very much. Again, Neil, thank you. It was fantastic. And yeah, I could go on for hours, but yeah, definitely we'll have you on again. And especially going through this negative, difficult time, it's good to have positives. So yeah, we're all good on this end. And thank you very much, Neil. We'll talk again for sure. Take care.
Good luck, ladies. Good luck.